I thought our acupuncture treatment will only reduce the pain. How come the pain is getting worse? Hi guys, my name is Dr. Ruchi Sang. I'm a doctor of TCM, also the instructor of a college to teach acupuncture clinic hours. Okay, so today we'll talk about why after the treatment the pain is literally getting worse instead of getting better. I will cover 3 points here. The first one is what consider worse, and the second one is why it is worse. The third one is how can we avoid it in the future treatment. Okay, we all see in cases like this. After the treatment, patient came back, said, oh, the pain didn't change, or the pain is actually getting worse. Or after the treatment, I feel super tired for a few days. Or after treatment, that part where you did the needle, I can barely touch it and the bruises for a few days. Okay, so this is a very common issue. And is this the right feedback? Is this a very common issue from all the patients? And is there a way we can fully solve this? Is there a way after each treatment the pain can only getting better instead of getting worse? And I think there is a solution, and today I'll share with you guys. Okay, about a decade ago, I was treating one of my coworker. Okay, and he got a frozen shoulder. He's about a 55-year-old male. Okay, and the range of motion for his left shoulder is very minimal, about 23 degrees-ish. And I said, oh yes, I know how to treat this. After a few needles, I think I can reduce the pain. And I said, okay, yes. So I know you're just doing this. So I'm waiting for you to try. So I tried 2 needles for him, which is large intestine 15 and Sanjiao 14, around the shoulder, the local region over there. And guess what? Next time, a week later, I asked him, hey buddy, how's the pain? And he said, Richie, you know what? Before the treatment, without move, my shoulder there is no pain at all. However, after the treatment, even without moving, I still feel the needle sensation inside of my shoulder joint. For a week now, I can still feel it. This is my first case, okay? First, like a scenario, I feel this like the patient is actually getting worse after the treatment. And at that moment, I started wondering why is that case, okay? And last week, I was teaching a clinic at the school, right? There were 4 patients during that session. And 2 of them, they are all about 50, 60-year-old female patients. One came here for the shoulder issue. One came here for neck and shoulder issue, upper back region. And their feedback is, after the student clinic, actually the pain is getting worse for 2 or 3 days. And they actually getting very worried for the acupuncture program. Okay, they think, oh, should I do herbology instead? I don't want to do needles no more, because I'm worried the pain will get even more. Okay, before it's tolerable. Afterwards, I cannot barely touch it. Okay, so one of my students asked me, why is that? Why the pain actually is getting worse and how to avoid it? And at that moment, I gathered all the information and gave the lecture. So I think this is the very valuable information I will share with the rest of our fellow acupuncturists to be, okay? So the first one, what consider is getting worse? So do not always believe patient's information. When patient telling you something, sometimes, most time it's true. However, sometimes it's not valuable information. You have to use your TCM diagnosis knowledge to distinguish this is helpful or this is the false information. Okay, I will give you some example here. So here, what does not consider as worse sign? Okay, for those 4 signs here, that does not consider is getting worse. Okay, so when the patient telling you and they fall into one of these categories, you can let the patient know this is not getting worse. Actually, this is a very common result from acupuncture treatment. Okay, so the first one is a different location. Okay, so we've seen this many times. And when patients have let's say shoulder pain, first start from the large intestine channel And after the treatment, when the second time you ask the patient, how's the pain? And the patient said, oh, the pain's still there, sometimes getting worse. And when you ask, where is this pain? And the pain, they said the pain first is located there. However, after needles, the pain shift over there, okay? And the pain remain the same level, or the pain like increase to a certain level. Actually, guess what? When the pain shift location, when it's the different location, usually this is showing you your treatment actually have a positive result. This, in my opinion, considered as a positive result instead of this is getting worse. Okay, so when I don't know you guys are familiar with the balance method or not, okay? When we're using balance method, when you're treating, let's say, shoulder pain, okay, from a large intestine channel, okay? And when you're finding an usher point from the opposite side of the body, from the knee region, from the ankle region, so you will locate one usher point associated with the pain from the large intestine channel right there, okay? After you apply the needle over there for the usher point, guess what? The pain will reduce from the original spot. But some cases, the patient will tell you, oh, I don't have any pain from the original position. I have a new pain from a new location. It shifts somewhere close by, okay? So this is literally you moving the qi from the usher point to pushing the qi stagnation to a new place. It's like you try to open up a pipe. The pipe is getting stuck from some certain garbage. So you cannot get into the stagnated location. You have to using some technique or some tools from the distal location, right? When you're adding some pressure from the distal location, and for this side of the pipe, the pressure change. The stagnated garbage actually changing location. This is showing you your pressure is working. Your pressure is pushing away this garbage. Well, even to a new location, the new location have new stagnation causing new location pain. But that showing you your treatment is actually working. So with a few more treatments, actually the pain will eventually disappear. And for most of the scenarios, the pain will only shift to more original location. So I'm treating many lower back pain patients, right? So first, they will start some pain, right? When the pain is getting worse and worse, it will cover more region. After a few treatments, the pain will actually shrink more and more to the original source of the location of the very original pain spots. You know what I mean, right? So after a few treatments, the pain shrink to very old location. So in a way, shifting location of the pain doesn't mean this pain is getting worse. You have to let the patient know this, okay? This is the first part. This is not a getting worse sign, okay? Second one, different range of motion. This one have a lot to do with a joint pain, no matter it's joint of the fingers, phalanges, right? No matter it's the knee joint, hip joint, shoulder joint, lower back joint, neck issues, because neck is full of joints. So when the patient said the pain remains the same level, or the pain is even worse, so first question you ask is, it is the same location? They said, oh, same location, okay? Same location. And next question you're supposed to ask is, what is the range of motion when you trigger out the pain? For example, initial visit, when they came here for the shoulder pain, right? 90 degree, pain is a 4 out of 5, no, 4 out of 10. So the second visit, when they said, oh, the pain remains 4 out of 10. However, the range of motion increase. Range of motion before is 90 degree, right? Now it's like 120. When it's the 120 degree and the pain is still 4 out of 10, do you think this is a positive progress? This is of course positive progress, because even the pain remains the same, 4 out of 10, but you can increase the range of motion, okay? Guess what? You ask them to go to the old range of motion, which is 90 degree. The pain will definitely reduce, right? So when you asking the pain level, you supposed to have the same standard as the initial visit, okay? Same location, same range of motion. And do not put in different standard. Well, this sounds very basic. However, the patient don't know this, right? When the patient still feel discomfort, they are thinking your treatment is not helping them. So you have to let them know your treatment is working and keep coming, and then we can aim for further progress. You know what I mean, right? So that's the first point and second point, location and range of motion, okay? They are all considered not, it's getting worse. The third one, touching. This is another very, very common one. You are using a balance method, okay? And after you try a certain usher point or some like a traditional point, the pain getting reduced. And with a certain movement, right? You are using moving qi technique. And the patient is telling you next time, when I move the shoulder, the pain, there's nothing there. However, when I touching the shoulder, I still feel the pain, okay? Or elbow, okay? So when I move it, I don't feel anything right now. I can move freely. However, when I touching certain spots, there's still pain there, okay? And the pain actually is getting worse compared to before. So do you think this is getting worse? No, this is not getting worse, okay? So why the pain, when they move it, they don't feel the pain. When touch, they still feel the pain. This is very easy to understand. So we have to understand why acupuncture work at the very first place. Why is that? Because we are using needle. There is no medication through the needle. There is no coating from the needle, just a silicone coating, right? Just a silicone coating to help you to smooth the needle insertion, reduce the pain insertion, right? So nothing else. So why needle can helping to reduce the pain? Because after you did the needle, you're circulating the qi from one spot to the other spot. In TCM, what consider create the pain? Qi stagnation creates pain, right? When there's a pain, there must be 100%, there must be some type of qi stagnation over there, okay? So with the needle insertion, you can reduce the qi stagnation, okay? For example, joint pain around here, okay? So some people play tennis, okay? Play tennis, and suddenly there's an accident, and the racket of tennis getting hit on the ground, and there's a jerking movement of the tendons of the wrist, okay? Let's say, okay? And some tendons getting injured, okay? Whenever the patient move the wrist like this, they feel the pain. After you did some needle insertion, you circulate the qi, okay? The qi, get rid of the qi stagnation around here on the wrist. So that's why after the patient move and they don't feel the pain, because the qi stagnation is getting less, okay? However, my question to you is, when you deliver the qi over here, the qi stagnation is getting less, right? That's why when move, the pain is getting less. But the tendons did getting some injury, right? So after you are only half hour, 40 minutes, even 1 hour treatment, you open up the channel for the qi wise. Is the tendons getting fixed during that treatment? Obviously, it didn't fix fast enough, right? You do not expect the tendons will heal within 1 hour. So at least taking a few days or a few weeks for the tendon to fully heal, right? So just relying on the body, keep sending more qi, keep sending more blood over there, and to let the qi, let the blood to do all the repairment, right? The repairment itself do taking a little longer time, to fully finish. That's why when the repairment is not fully finished yet, when you touch it, of course you will feel pain because it's not fully repaired yet, right? However, when move, there is no pain because there is no qi stagnation, okay? So this is the difference from when patient move it, there is no pain, but when touch, still pain. That means, well, you did something good, open up the channel, sending more qi and blood over there to reduce the qi stagnation, leading to less pain when move. However, when you still touch it, there is still pain because the repairment of the tendons still there, okay? Same thing goes to the rest part of the body. So you better to share this information with your patient, otherwise the patient think, oh, your treatment did nothing. I still feel pain when I touch, okay? So this is just a misunderstanding from acupuncture treatment. All right, so the next point, which is getting tired. I guess when you are experienced acupuncturist, you seeing this many cases, okay? Especially for the first few visit patients, especially for the first timers, okay? After treatment, the next session said, oh, I feel exhausted, okay? Exhausted, I feel fatigue. I falling asleep for more than 10 hours, 12 hours, okay? So why is that? Do you think this is getting worse? This is not getting worse, okay? However, you can do better for this case. Let me share the concept why this happened. Because before we mentioned, acupuncture relying on qi movement, okay? You put in the needles. You are using this needle to manipulate the qi from one spot to the other spot to do the healing work, okay? So the qi will move from point A to point B. Do you think there is some losing qi during the transportation? Of course, there will some part of the qi will lose, because qi is energy. When you move anything from point A to point B, there will be something spinning during the way, right? When you're moving water from point A to point B, there will be some losing water during the process as well, right? So this is pure physics. So when you're doing a very heavy treatment, strong techniques, you are circulating a lot of the qi from point A to point B, right? So there will be a lot of qi, not waste. I'm not saying waste. A lot of qi, spend it, okay? Spend it during this process, okay? And before the patient generating the new qi through the stomach, through the spleen, kidney, or whatever, so they will of course feel tired, because everybody is like a rechargeable battery, right? So instead of to repair this battery, you have to use partially of the energy. When the energy is used and not recharged yet, so of course the battery will have low battery side. I know this is a bad example, but you understand what I mean, right? So this is like a wear, right? This is wear during this process. This is normal, okay? This is normal. So making sure you share this information for initial visit of the patient. Otherwise, they're getting very worried about them, and they have this like a negative opinions about the acupuncture. However, when you alert them, with this information before the treatment, then they fully understand, right? And with that said, for the first timers, you better to using a lighter approach as well. Don't use so many of the qi, because their body is not getting used to this kind of treatment yet. Okay, so this is very simple, right? So for all these 4 points, this does not consider getting worse signs. So beside all these 4, when they say the pain is getting worse, 99% of the chance it is getting worse. Okay. So why your treatment getting the pain worse? Why is that? We have different reasons. We have many different causes, but those are the very common reasons. Okay, I don't have enough time to list all the reasons, and this is the most common one. So hopefully those you try to avoid later in your future treatment, okay? Then you can save yourself like 80-90% of effort already, okay? The first one is qi stagnation, okay? Before we are very clear why acupuncture helping our patient, okay? Just circulating the qi from point A to point B, right? And what causing pain at the very first place? Qi stagnation causing pain. So why the pain is getting worse? So must be qi stagnation getting worse during or after the treatment. That's why the pain is getting worse. So we really have to think why the qi stagnation is getting worse during the treatment. You were supposed to circulate the qi. Why the qi stagnation is getting worse? I'll give you some seconds. Some of the subscribers here, you guys are my students, right? I taught you guys in the class. So think, why the qi stagnation after treatments literally getting worse instead of getting better? So, due to several reasons, okay? The first one is the patient is too weak. The patient is too weak, okay? So, for example, senior patients, 70s, 80s years old. So pains either here, over there, joints, like a necks, and like a kidney issues, spleen issues, they are all over the issues, right? So they have like a yin-yang essence, whatever deficiency. So the patient does not generating more of the qi, more of the yang, more of the blood, whatever. Yeah. So when you circulating the qi to certain spots of the body, you try to using this qi to solve some issues, right? Guess what? After you remove the needle, the patient's own qi, the patient's own yang, the patient's own blood, the patient's own system is not powerful enough, is not strong enough to circulate, to distribute whatever you gathered for that part evenly to close by regions. So causing some qi stagnation. It is your treatment literally causing certain type of stagnation over there because you try some certain point too strong, or you gathered more qi to that spot and without lose up. Okay, so have you guys like seen this? I guess like you guys all tried cupping for different patients before, right? Some patients after cupping, the cupping marks disappear within 1 or 2 days. But some patients after cupping, even for a month, there will be still a darker marks remaining over there. Why is that? It is because that body does not tolerating the qi, okay? Does not distribute whatever the qi you accumulate to that like a cupping spot, okay? The black color, that's the, like a little, very shallow level to the surface of the skin level. Qi stagnation caused blood stasis. Okay, qi stagnation caused blood stasis. All right, so you have to like distribute the qi evenly after the treatment, especially for the weaker patient. All right, so that's the first reason why after treatment, even during your treatment, the pain is getting worse. You accumulate too much qi to this patient, and the patient's own system cannot lose up or distribute the qi you gathered at that spot. Okay, either you try too strong or the patient's too weak, or both. So you really have to find out if the patient's too weak. You cannot try too strong like a technique, okay, for this certain spot, okay, or even to a normal patient, okay. Imagine you try very strong cup, okay, very strong cup. You tried strong cup for 1 hour for this patient. Guess what happened to that part of the skin? That part of the skin will not only bruise, it will burst, explode. Blood will come out, all right? So this is like it happens before, all right? A lot of accidents. You just like a Google cupping goes wrong, okay? So this is you accumulate too much qi and blood to a certain part of the body. Needle is better than cupping, however, same concept underneath, okay? Do not try strong technique to a weaker patient, causing more qi stagnation for this weaker patient, okay? That's the most common reason causing worse scenario after treatment. Second one, treatment time, okay? Same thing, okay? Same thing. When you doing too long treatment, do you think within the needle inside of the body, the longer of the treatment, the more circulation of the qi? We all agree with that, right? So like how long is too long? Different people have different standard, right? However, when for certain patient, when you put in the treatment way too long for the patient's own standard, you are wasting patient's qi, right? Then it will leading to qi deficiency leading to qi stagnation, right? Before, why patient have qi stagnation at the very first spot, we just mentioned for this point. Why is that? For seniors, patient have like a deficiency already, right? So when you taking too long treatment time for a normal patient, you are turning the normal patient into a weaker patient. Weaker patient cannot move the qi regularly compared to other patient, then will leading to qi stagnation. You know what I mean, right? So do not treating a patient way too long, okay? do not treating a patient way too long, all right? So that's the first of the reason why treatment time shouldn't be too long for this patient. Second reason, do you guys are treating some like a patient with a joint pain before? Okay, so some patient, okay, it's a joint issue, okay, it's a joint issue, and in order to doing some needle insertion, you have to move their joint to a weird position, right? You all seeing that, treating knee issues, hip issues, lower back issues, neck issues, shoulder issues. For some insertion of the needle point, you have to move that joint to some weird position. For this kind of scenario, I recommend do not using longer treatment time ever. The reason why is the joint can only move that far. When you force the joint to move, the patient does not have a very comfort position. This is talking about the position as well. The first point, okay, position of the patient, and the second point, treatment time, actually is all related, okay? So when the patient's joint is not in a very good circulation position, the longer of the treatment, the worse of the circulation of the qi of this joint. You are literally making worse circulation of the joint. Instead of helping good circulation of the joint will getting worse instead of getting better. Okay, I see many of my students treating patients, and they're treating frozen shoulders, they're treating knee joint issues, and they didn't putting the patient in a right position. They putting patients in a weird position. Okay, facing down, extend the arm like that, and let the patient to sitting up and laying like that to the side. So overall, the patient does not lie in a very comfortable position. For this, you cannot let the patient to lie in to extend the treatment time. The longer of the treatment time, actually you are wasting of the patient's qi, okay? You are making even poor circulation of the joint. We're making everything worse, okay? We're making everything worse. So that doesn't mean like you cannot get in treatment this way. You can still do, maybe doing some reducing technique or maybe some other technique, just shorten the treatment time, okay? Just bear this in your mind. This is the treatment time. Let's talk about the position instead of talking about the third point, okay? Let's finish up. For the position, all right? So try to have the most comfortable position of the patient. You are dealing with the qi, the blood, the body fluid here. They are all critical, right? Critical elements to heal the patients, okay? They are like waters. They are like water. Imagine when you're treating a patient standing up, do you think the water will flow in from the feet back to the head? So when you're treating the neck and shoulder, don't sitting patients up, standing patients up, because the qi, the blood, the body fluid does not reach into the upper jaw that easy when sitting up and standing up, because there's gravity right here, right? And that is why when you're sitting or standing the patients up, patient easier to faint, because everything moving away from the head, right? Easier to lead into faint. So the position is the big one. So when the patient's pain is getting worse, during and after treatment, think it is caused by the poor circulation of the position patient is lying or you make. Sometimes the patient come here, first time, they don't know how to laying down, they don't know how to settle in a very comfortable position. It is up to you, the good acupuncturist, doctor of TCM, to decide what position is the best for them, okay? And you are in charge totally, okay? No excuse for you guys to making the wrong position for them, okay? You better to study a good position to treat in different scenario of the patient. When you're treating the back, what is the good lying down position? When you're treating the armpit, what is the best position, right? So put that in your minds and to always putting the patient in a most comfortable position for a better flow of qi and blood, right? Okay, so this is the fourth point. The third point, treatment environment, same thing. We are increasing the flow of the qi and blood. However, what stops the qi and blood to flow freely? Coldness, dampness, right? So like a wind. So if your treatment environment is very windy, very cold, and very not suitable for a good treatment environment, don't do that. Or you have to treating the patient in that environment, then do something to fix this environment, okay? Maybe putting more lamps, maybe using moxa instead of using needles, maybe doing some warm up, maybe using more blankets, right? So the treatment environment play a huge key here, okay? Imagine yourself, okay? You as a patient, you have a shoulder pain, okay? You have shoulder pain. Imagine your acupuncturist bring you into a very cold, no lamp, no blanket room, just a very thin layer of cloth, okay? And you are getting half naked. And the acupuncturist forgot to fully cover you, putting like 50, 60 needles on top of you and only cover your private parts, leave the rest of the body exposed, okay, to the cold environment. And you're lying there for 40, 45 minutes. Do you think your issue are getting better? Of course, your issue are getting worse, okay? Just lying there, you are catching a cold instead of getting better, okay? So treating environments is very important, making sure you do the right call, all right? Find the very different people, of course, have a different standard, okay? For stronger patient, they can tolerate a more colder environment, that's for true. And for hotter patient, they prefer colder environment. So you still have to use your TCM diagnosis knowledge to find out this environment is suitable for this type of patient or not, okay? But this play a huge factor on, okay? The last one, distal treatment, same thing. Instead of treating locally of the issue, you are using the distal acupoints. So what is the downside for this one? You are using more of the qi, okay? You are using more of the qi. This one is similar as the treatment time. It's a longer treatment time. Same thing, you are using more patient's qi. So it's more likely you are wasting more their qi. For the seniors, I recommend using more local points because when you're using distal treatment, you are circulating qi further, right, from point A to point B. When the distance is further, of course, you're wasting more of the energy. When the distance is shorter, so you don't have to wasting so much like during the process, right? So that is the distal treatments instead of like a local treatment. So bear this one in mind, okay? Moving water from point A to point B, you're losing some during the process. So that's the most common reasons why the treatments didn't help our patient, instead actually making the pain a little bit worse, okay? Making the pain a little bit worse. So how can we avoid this? Very easy. Now you understand the concept behind each one of them, and now you have the solution, right? Now you have the solution. So what is the solution? The first one, qi stagnation. How can we solve the qi stagnation you created for this patient? You have to lose up after the treatment, right? Well, some people said, oh, I want to making sure I have a decent treatment. Patient came here a long way, patient pay me like 100, 200. I don't want to waste patient's money, waste patient's energy and time, right? So I want to provide a very decent treatment. That's why I'm using, strong treatment. That's why using stronger approach, stronger needle techniques. I really want to help my patient, which is good, okay, which is good. I do not blame you for this part, but all I require for you is after strong treatment, guys, making sure you can lose up. You lose up after your strong needles. Why there's a qi stagnation there? You gathered too much qi. You accumulate too much qi and blood to that specific spot without distribute the qi and blood afterwards, right? You can do so during the treatment, but before you wrap up everything, when you lose up, you just distribute the qi evenly to the local regions, then there will be no qi stagnation, right? So all you have to do is this. Personally, I'm using stronger aggressive techniques as well. However, afterwards, I always using this, okay? And no complaints from the patient. No complaint from patient for the pain is getting worse, all right? So making sure you lose up. How to do lose up? How? So you can using some acupressure, technique. You can using some tapping technique, rolling technique, pushing technique, or you can using some flash cupping, slide cupping if you choose to do so. So whatever. Even you increase the temperature, putting a heat bag or something, right? And then it will getting better. Okay. So making sure you lose up after you remove the needle. That's the essential part. That's the most helpful part if your treatment style is quite strong like me, okay? The second one is the channel. So what channel means is when you do during the needle insertions, instead of just using the local needles around here, you better to, for example, you're treating the shoulder here, right? You're treating the shoulder. Instead of just using the local points around the shoulder joint, you can follow the channels as well, right? Nothing too far. Too far, that's distal treatment. You are wasting the qi, right? However, for example, large intestine shoulder pain here, instead of using large intestine 14, 15-ish here, you can still using large intestine 4, large intestine 11, large intestine like a 10 something, right? Once you apply needles for the whole channel, so guess what? The qi will not stagnate around here. It will circulate within this single channel. So it will boost up the whole circulation for this single channel. The channel is long, right? It does not stuck for this like a single joint. So when you using more of the channel, instead of using one specific joint, especially this joint, because joint, that's like a moving part. There is a gap in the joint. Gap always create more stagnation, right? So when you're treating joint tissue, better to follow a little bit more of the channel, right? So it will lead into less of the qi stagnation, okay? So that's using channel instead of using just the specific point. And maintenance of the patient. You can ask the patient to do more maintenance, causing qi stagnation, right? Let them to do more moving qi technique, right? Stretches, right? Or let them to doing some heat back, right, around the shoulders, around the back. So let them to putting a patch, right, medical patch around there. It will also like increase the qi and blood flow, right? So all the maintenance will prevent the qi stagnation for the future, while making the pain better instead of getting worse, right? So this is my way to targeting the qi stagnation part. The second one, treatment time. So you have to distinguish which patient is a weaker patient, guys. Weaker patient. You will have your treatment style. And to your treatment style, you have to find what type of patient consider weaker patient, okay? Then for weaker patient, you don't try too long treatment time, okay? This is easy, right? Next one, treatment environment. So this is very like straightforward. Just provide the perfect environment for different type of patient. So use your TCM knowledge. And the position. Position is you better to find out the best position to increase the qi flow, the blood flow. Flow is the everything, okay? Flow is the everything. And next one, distal. Also determine what type of patient consider weaker patient, okay? Consider weaker patient. Then you will know what scenario you cannot using much of the distal treatment, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is all my experience and knowledge about why the pain is getting worse instead of getting better. So I do notice a lot of weaker patient around here, right? For guess what? You might confuse, you might wondering what consider weaker patient in your opinion. If there are a few categories, guess what? From the Yellow Emperor's classics, from the other ancient Chinese books, there is a few articles clearly states there are few type of patient considered weaker patient, and you cannot get in very strong treatment towards them. And our next episode, we are talking about that, okay? And I will give you a heads up. For the next episode, we are talking about when you did making this scenario worse, and the next time the patient showing up with the worst pain and they are getting mad. They are suing you for that. They are getting very mad. And how to diffuse a mad patient, okay? So that's our next episode. So stay tuned. Even I'm laughing, but acupuncture overall is dying, okay? If you attend my class, you know why acupuncture is dying. And the reason I'm doing these videos, it is to prevent acupuncture dying, okay? So hopefully you learn something and we all work together to making acupuncture better and helping more patients, okay? So I'm gonna see you at the next episode. And you can watch some of my class record videos. Well, they are not very organized, however, I think they are very valuable, okay? So I'm gonna see you next episode. Bye-bye.